Yeah, I'm exhausted.
You've had a big day.
Yeah, it's been a tough one. So, how's everyone doing? This is the Drunken Disorderly Podcast, Super Science-y edition. We're here with the Scientific Libertarian to discuss global warming or climate change, or whatever they're calling it this week. I am your host, Raptor. And I'm just sharing this to my start a watch party. There we go. Watch party. Okay.
Should I do that on my... If I minimize this screen, will it keep me in it?
I don't think so.
I'll skip it.
Yeah.
Weird earbuds. All right.
So, I have invited. Do you want me to use your first name or the Scientific Libertarian all day?
Whichever. You can just call me Carl.
I invited Carl on because I have questions about climate change, and I was homeschooled, so my understanding of science is a little lacking. I was taught in 10th grade that peanut butter disproved the theory of evolution. And that's where we're starting from. So
okay,
yeah, I can't even make the argument. I wonder if I could find the argument because that'd be kind of fun. Chuck Missler, peanut. Oh Jesus, is this actually? Oh my God! So do you want to see the video
about peanut butter?
Yeah, about how
I've never heard of this.
Okay, then we have to do this.
This is a rare one. Peanut butter just...
Yeah.
Okay.
Live. Screen share. So here, I'm going to give everyone kind of where I'm coming from as a sciencey person. Here we go. Oh, wait, I have to do this in a certain way so that you can... Can you hear that?
I can't hear it. I think you have to share sound again, or...
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how that worked. Hide. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Stop screen share. Screen share. Share screen. Share audio. There we go. Sorry, guys. It's been one of those days. Here we go.
I would say this: any theory on the origin of life on the Earth or any other planet, as far as that's concerned, is a fairy tale.
A fairy tale, pure and simple. Life from non-life, apart from God's direct intervention, is a fairy tale. But despite that obvious truth, evolutionists continue to build their supposedly scientific case on a foundation that virtually rules out everything that follows after it.
Evolution teaches that energy, such as lightning or heat, plus matter, can occasionally create new life. Yet,
is that what evolution teaches?
So that's like the origins of life. That's not really... I mean, I guess you could put evolution into that, but they've done experiments where they've taken, like, here's the mud, the cesspool that kind of existed, here's lightning, here's heat, here's condensation, all these things, and they've gotten DNA precursors to happen.
Okay.
But you can make diamonds with peanut butter, like little micro peanut butter. Like, or little micro diamonds. They're like, you can't see them. Fun fact. I don't know.
All right, well.
So this is peanut butter disproving.
It rests on the fact that this can never happen. If we examine a jar of...
So wait, are you an atheist?
I mean, I guess I'm Lutheran, but I mean, that's mostly around Easter.
Okay.
Peanut butter contains matter.
Well, then you don't have to be afraid of peanut butter.
To light and heat.
There you go.
But we never find new life inside unless an outside life contaminates it.
If the theory of evolution was viable, then I should, occasionally, by subjecting this to energy, end up having new life. Now, we go down to the store, And if I open this jar of peanut butter, maybe not often, but on some occasion, I should find new life inside. And so when we open the jar of peanut butter, we look in.
I would like to point out that was already pre-opened because they didn't want him on camera sitting there trying to get it to
It's
actually
the
rip
top
up.
part.
Yeah, did you notice that?
Yeah, the top part doesn't come off very easily.
No.
There's no new life. And I'm glad. Okay. Now, you may smile at this, but hopefully you'll never forget it, because you and I conduct, collectively, over 1 billion experiments every year, and we've done that for virtually 100 years. And we never encounter new life. In fact, the entire food industry of the world depends on the fact that evolution doesn't happen.
Alrighty.
Oh boy.
So that is what you are working with, sir. So first off, if you've never heard of Chuck Missler, this is the guy that did a 12-part series on the Nephilim, which is like weird Christian mythology where angels came down and fucked a bunch of ladies, and suddenly there were like Hercules was running around. Okay. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what that weird part of Christianity goes on about.
I don't know where to begin on that one.
So so what?
Wait, 1 second.
It's hard to get to get everything back on track after that. I'm sorry,
guys. I'm in the kitchen. 1 second.
Oh, are you going to do an experiment for us?
Oh my God, he's right. There's nothing living in there, you guys. Oh, that's good.
So, in what ways was that bullshit?
Okay, so that's not really what it says. So the experiment there, they just said like lightning hitting stuff. There's like a lot more steps to it than that. They took basically the sludge, the atmosphere, everything that they thought was around at the time. They took the elements. They didn't, contaminate it with anything. And then they, one bottle here, down here was condensation. One was over here was heating it up. One up here was exposing it to electrical charges. And they just ran that over and over again. And they found like little precursor molecules to DNA. So it's a really complicated study. It's the idea. So it's not actually what they're saying.
Yeah. Okay.
And evolution doesn't even talk about that.
Right.
Really.
As my understanding of evolution is that like it's what happened after all of the life had to start before evolution could start.
Yeah, you need that's just like the starting point. What happened in evolution is natural selection. So yeah.
So somehow or other, so I think I'm the biggest argument against evolution because there is nothing going on here that is advantageous to survival.
You're the top of the food chain. Right?
I mean,
you can go to a grocery store.
I guess
if you go to a Japanese place, you can buy any creature on the planet.
Mm-hmm. So more seriously, kind of getting to the topic at hand, climate change.
Yep.
I don't understand. I kind of get it, but I feel like there's a lot of questions that I've heard posed that I haven't really heard a good answer for. I just typically hear someone say, well, that's dumb. And it's like, well, I don't understand. Can you explain to me why that's dumb? So my first question, worst case scenario, all of the ice caps completely melt, like the mountaintops melt, everything's water. How high does the water go? How much of the earth do we lose, like landmass wise?
Well, it's not really a simple because salt water, it does expand a little bit when you heat it up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, like a liquid doesn't compress, but if you heat a liquid, it'll expand very slightly. So what they've seen so far is about 8 inches of ocean rise, and that's just from satellite imagery and everything like that. They've measured how much water is going into the oceans from the ice. So like total between Greenland and the Antarctic would be like 400 billion a year since 2010. So it's a lot of water going back into the ocean and raising it up, but it does have a certain amount of expansion and contraction with heat. Just, it's not really visible until you put it into an ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I heated up water, I probably wouldn't see, if I heat this up, I probably won't really see a whole lot of expansion till it like turns to steam, and then it flashes into 1,000 times its volume. But if you're looking at like the entire ocean, then you're going to see a little bit of expansion from heat.
Okay.
And we've on like 0.4 degrees Celsius. That's about as much as we've warmed just the top layer of the ocean. So it's you need heat and glacial caps melting, which at this point they're probably going to melt more.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I mean, the biggest problems with global warming is you're going to have longer periods of heat. You're going to have more rainfall. And then it's predicted that it's not happening yet, but it is predicted that weather's gonna get worse. But,
So, and because we're both in farmland states,
yeah.
when you say more rainfall and more heat, I just think longer growing season.
Well, yeah, but then you're also talking about longer droughts, right? So it's like it's weird, right? You're talking about more rainfall and longer droughts,
Mm-hmm.
but really that's what it comes down to is you have more rainfall because you're evaporating more water, and then on the surface, the water there's only so much water to evaporate. Like
Yeah.
during the flooding season, you'll get all this rain because it's all over the place, and then it's weather science. It's all over the place. And then climate science is, just these are just like the averages on the globe, right? So this is like just measuring the entire climate, which is different than the weather. But the big thing to realize is you don't really have to believe in it to want to take care of the environment.
Right.
So, I mean, that's like you can focus on the CO2, but if you're talking fossil fuels, you're talking about, coal, gas, and natural gas, and you're talking about arsenic, you're talking about, or not arsenic, mercury, you're talking about lead, you're talking about radon from the fracking that you have going on. There's a lot of other bad stuff that comes with fossil fuels.
Yeah.
So it's like nuclear doesn't have that. So it seems like a good alternative because it's constant. So.
And for anyone, like, Carl isn't the one that does the nuclear joke, but he's definitely in on it at this point.
Yeah.
So actually, I should have saved the article because I saw it today out of the corner of my eye when I was at work. But there was someone was talking about a new reactor went up in Idaho or Utah. I don't remember which one now. That it like the reactor basically just burns nuclear waste from old reactors.
Yeah.
So
so there's like a thermal fast spectrum reactor.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the molten salt stuff. That the two new things that make those more economic is one, using thorium, potentially being able to use thorium. Two is actually using the waste and it's not really waste. I mean, it's burnt up 0.7% of its energy. It's not. I mean, if you take, it's like taking a piece of firewood, charring it, and then putting it out and then going, yeah, I don't want that firewood anymore. It's like it's still usable.
Yeah. Which is basically what I did for our fire this weekend.
Just like
it served its purpose. Marshmallows were roasted. Everyone was happy. Sorry, dogs. My next question. So my contention has actually been not that climate change isn't happening, just that it's a good thing, in my opinion.
There's some good things and some bad things, right? I mean, like up north, there's potentially more habitable land.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem up north is we have massive layers of permafrost, which is, it has a lot of plant matter in it. And when you heat that up, you get a ton of methane. So then you're just adding on top of everything.
Yeah.
Even more potent.
As the oceans expand, one of the arguments I've heard is that like underwater life will start sucking CO2 out of the atmosphere as the oceans expand because reasons. I don't quite get the argument. Again, not a scientist. I assume they're talking like algae and shit. Is that possible? Is that like really far-fetched? What's going on there?
So there's another problem with that, and this is probably the biggest one, and I hate it because I watch all these climate change things, and the one thing they never talk about is plastic, right? So we have tons and tons of plastic in the ocean, and now this is a big range, all right? So 50 to like 85% of all the CO2 to O2 through photosynthesis, it happens in the ocean. It happens with phytoplankton. And the biggest problem is with all that plastic, it actually inhibits the growth of oceanic phytoplankton. So we're seeing a lot of phytoplankton dying off. So that really can't happen as well. Like if we threw a bunch of iron in the ocean, phytoplankton would love that, right? I mean, iron, like your heme in your blood. Well, plants have a heme molecule to attach to the oxygen to, get them out. But, plastic is just killing up the phytoplankton, which is like, that's a real big deal, right? I mean,
yeah,
you take 50 to 85% of the O2 to CO2, and it ranges quite a bit, and it's hard to measure the oceans and how much life is in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's a really big deal. So like plastic waste is probably the biggest
I feel like we have people that talk about like straw bans and shit like that isn't, in my opinion, very effective at dealing with this problem. But I feel like the plastic issue is a much bigger issue than it's getting warmer and wetter outside. And I realize I'm being very dismissive of the topic, but I think when you see
straws are not like a huge source of plastic. So bottles. Beer is great, by the way. And I just like to give a thumbs up to beer because they use glass or they use metal. And glass and metal can be recycled any amount of times. Mm-hmm. Plastic really can't, right? You use it, you recycle it so many times, and then at a certain point you can't recycle it anymore. But really, I mean, this little guy here in Iowa, 5-cent bottle deposit. I mean, if you wanted to do something for plastic, do a bottle deposit. It's like you get your 10 cents back once you have proven that you didn't throw your trash, in the creek while you were fishing, and that's, a way to incentivize recycling. And it's great because it's like, imagine paying your taxes and then, you finish your drive and they're like, oh, hey, here's your taxes back. That's a bottle deposit. You get your money right back just for throwing it in the box,
Yeah.
So it's like, it's one of those small libertarian ideas, but it works in the states it's tried. So
what would so I'm trying to wrap my thoughts around this. A lot of times from, I guess, the far left, and it's not an ideology either of us subscribe to, you hear some real doom and gloom, like everyone's going to be dead in 40 years if we don't get a handle on climate change. Where is that coming from, and what would be your response to it?
So I think they're pointing to a study saying at 2 degrees. So in, gosh, so it was 12 years, in 2016? So,
Something like that, yeah.
reaching that 2% level. And that's the point where they're starting to think that the weather might turn bad. So that's like, and when I say like weather, I mean like catastrophic, like hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff like that. But right now, we may have some more hail, which is great because we have all these solar panels around and they just love hail. And then, we'll I mean, that always kicks you. It's like windmills and solar panels, they're fantastic. But I do rip on them on a commercial scale. But it's like those are great for liberty, right? I mean, if a person is reliant on themselves and they can make their own energy on a personal level, that's a great thing. But, subsidizing it when it's on and off efficient is not fantastic.
I was told that a solar panel is currently still a net negative, ecologically speaking. I don't know if that's actually true or not. I don't even know how to research that effectively to know if it's true or not.
Well, there's so many factors going into building these things, right? So it's like, if you look at like the inputs into wind and solar per like kilowatt hour, it takes a lot of copper, it takes a lot of steel, it takes a lot of rare earth elements, especially for like solar panels. You've got gallium, indium, all these like rare earth metals.
I mean, one would argue that we went to war in Afghanistan for lithium because of our, like, maybe not so much solar panels, but I know some solar panels use them or use lithium. Or maybe I don't know that. Maybe I'm full of shit. I heard that somewhere. I read it. But like lithium for batteries was basically the whole point of Afghanistan for some people.
I mean, yeah, I guess we talk about the poppy seeds or the poppy heroin.
Yeah.
Mostly. But I mean, yeah, rare earth metals are getting to be more of a commodity. And the great thing about that kind of is it's like, yeah, it takes a lot of energy and stuff, but thorium's like a byproduct of that mining. And this is where the government kind of comes in and screws over that side a little bit. Like a lot of these rare earth mines, they say, okay, I want to take this thorium and I want to store it. I just want to store it for the future, so that in the future when we have these reactors, we can do that. And the government says, no, you can't destroy that or store that. It's waste. It's waste. You can't use that. So a lot of these thorium mines just go in a hole with dirt over them, or however they decide to get rid of all the waste.
Dan Fishman says that rare earth magnets are dangerous for kids.
Neodymium, I think, right? Neodymium.
I don't even know how to spell that, so I can't even look it up to see if you're right.
Well, I think they're stronger, but they're not the earth magnets, but I think it's neodymium magnet. Yeah, those are like super strong. They'll, they pinch. They'll rip if you get a big enough one, I mean, they'll rip just about anything off. It's big metal.
Neodymium is a chemical element with the symbol Nd and the atomic number 60. It belongs to the lanthanide series and is a rare earth element. It's hard and slightly malleable silvery metal. Something else that's hard and slightly malleable. What? That's my one per episode.
Yeah. I've been drinking a little, so I'm pretty sure that's what the really strong magnets are made of.
Yeah,
It's not what
I'm
the
looking,
Earth
and
magnets are.
they're definitely selling magnets on Google
Yeah.
for it. So,
Yeah.
China
I know
controls the supply. That's scary.
Yeah, they have a lot of their this little guy in my ear. There's a little thin layer of neodymium in there.
Hmm.
It's what basically lets us get a microphone or a speaker so small inside of our phones or our headphones, mics, any sort of audio equipment.
So what you're saying is we need to go to war with China to make sure that we can secure the supply of this?
Oh boy.
That's the libertarian thing to do, right?
That's like,
Invade the second most powerful country in the world.
it doesn't. There's not a whole lot of it in here. It's just like a thin little piece, you know. But then it's like, you know, these don't get recycled either, so they get.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, that seems like we're wasting a lot if it's that valuable and that important, and we throw it out I throw out headphones all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't even know there was anything valuable in there. I mean, headphones are dirt cheap. Why isn't that, like, if it's such a rare metal, why are headphones so cheap when they use it?
Well, I think neodymium is in this class. It's like, it's rare, but it's not hard to find.
Okay.
It's like, it's in like uranium, right? Uranium's in like a lot of dirt, right? It's not hard to find. It's hard to find a concentration of uranium, or like thorium's in like a lot of dirt. You try and make a mine out of it. You don't really need like a ton of searching. You just need a lot of production to get to it because it's in such a small concentration. So that's kind of in China, they just, you know, they pushed all this money into these rare earth mines to make their manufacturing more efficient. So, I mean,
so Dan is commenting on my watch party instead of coming to the page to share all of these nuggets of wisdom with everybody. Mean old Dan. He said that coronavirus is a plot to get the rare earth metals. So
it's.
I wouldn't disbelieve anything about coronavirus right now. I genuinely think a government made that shit, and then it got out of control a little bit.
Well, it's like, if it was made, I mean, there's nothing really all that special about coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you compare it, it's like very, you know, it's a slight version distinction. It doesn't look like it was made in a lab, but I mean,
that's just what they want you to think.
I was trying to throw a joke in there, but I couldn't think of one.
So far, the death toll by percentage is what is that? It's like lower than the flu that Raffle stomped the Midwest earlier this year. So,
last year's flu was way worse. I think that was over 100,000 people died. You know, if you get
in America or worldwide?
I think that was in America.
Wow, although I didn't realize it was that bad.
I didn't refresh up on coronavirus for this one. I was like, let's
we weren't going to talk about it.
There's a video I have on the page where this guy discusses, you know, myths and everything about corona, but he doesn't really go into a lot of detail. He just kind of, it's for like the average person. So it's kind of a neat video.
So the 2019-2020 flu season, 16,000 people have died. 2018 flu season deaths. 2018, 61,200. That was a much stronger year.
Oh, that was a big year. I might be thinking of global numbers, but
I mean, 61,000 in America. That's not nothing. That's like 0.5% of the population, right? I don't know,
That's
man. I'm
almost
tired.
the number of people that die from heroin. So heroin's like 65,000 a year.
Why will coronavirus be deadly in the Middle East? That's racist, Dan. I'm just kidding.
In the Middle East?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. It's going to be really deadly in the Middle East. So they said one of the reasons it was so deadly in China, especially to men, is that men smoke a lot in China. Didn't know that. Interesting tidbit. But apparently smoking before you catch one of these is not a good life decision. Who would have thought that burning tar into your lungs is not a good life decision?
Well, that's why a lot of people die from the flu, is because you have a lung problem already.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
that's basically what killed my mom, I think. Not coronavirus, but just like she got sick and like she already had issues with her brain from formaldehyde poisoning from drinking too much diet soda. Didn't know it was possible to do that. Apparently, when you drink like 6 cans of Diet Coke a day, you can. That's what the doctor said. So she got over that, but she's been a lifetime smoker, so she had lung issues, and then she got sick and just couldn't fight it off.
Well, there's if you take a blood sample, there is like a trace amount of formaldehyde. It's one of the chemical byproducts of a couple metabolite.
Well, it's a lot of the artificial
sweeteners
sweeteners in diet soda.
You shouldn't have a lot of sugar in general, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the biggest problem is you get those artificial sweeteners, and it's like, well, if you were eating them at the same rate as normal sugar, you'd probably be fine. But they find like, but then again, the studies that show that, it's a lot of the times they'll kind of headline scare you. It's like it doubles the risk of this disease. Well, if the risk is like 5% and it doubles it to 1%, it's not like all that scary. But it's like like you always see those ads for like they're talking about like, oh, it has no corn syrup in it. And it's like, well, you can eat the same amount of sugar that they base those studies off, and they'll probably do the same thing. It's just they never, the food industry, they're like, hey, we're going to rip on corn syrup so that we can say, hey, our product's better because there's no corn syrup. Well, did you look at sugar in general?
Oh, yeah. So going back a little bit, Dan says the WHO said last week that 2% of infected cases have been fatal. In Iran, it's 20%.
20%. Is there a lot of infections? Like, what are the numbers here?
Yeah, I don't know.
I haven't looked at the Iran thing, but
this is not a topic we were prepared to cover.
I was not prepared for coronavirus. Oh God.
So this actually isn't like we're gonna wrap here real soon because this wasn't ever supposed to be a super long episode. What I do want to pimp out though is we're gonna see Carl in like 6 days. I'm leaving Friday night.
Yeah, I'll be there Saturday. I couldn't get a sitter for Friday.
Yeah. So, Libertarian Party of Iowa convention. It's in Des Moines, right?
Yes.
It's going to be in Des Moines. Most of the presidential candidates are going to be there.
Yeah, we may have 10, but Foss didn't show up to the last one in Florida, so I don't.
Is she running?
She might not be there. Yeah,
like, I keep seeing the name float around, but I've never actually seen her do anything.
I see her name on the forum titles, but I never see her. So like maybe she'll be there. But yeah, we're
gonna be there, and we're gonna have. I don't think we're gonna have a table because we couldn't afford it until like I've been broke until basically Friday is when I'm gonna be kind of back on my feet after being injured for a month. So
yeah,
that'll be fun. I'll be driving out there, get in a room and partying. We're gonna party like it's 1999.
Good economy.
Yeah.
Good economy back in 1999.
Yeah. So we had our LP Iowa chair debate a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Who you pulling
Yes.
for?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I may not show up Saturday. I may not get to show up and vote either way. So it's, I mean, either one of them probably do all right. It's just, you know, I know them both, so it's hard to formulate a big decision on it. Don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Mm-hmm. I know our other
Especially
friend
my
from
own.
Iowa, Myra, has opinions for days on that one.
Yeah.
I know that's going to shock people who know her that she has opinions, but
well, the problem is like I was sitting here and I was like, he's my District 2 lead, and I'm having a problem remembering his name. And I've talked to the guy a bunch of times, and this is a problem. I'm like, wait, what is his name again?
So it's not Perryman because he's not the
no Fred's. I know Fred, but
I'm terrible with names, so I'm gonna have to go back through our videos.
I like that guy. I like that guy. I've talked with that guy a bunch of times. I just can't remember his name.
Mike Connor Jr.
Yes, it was one of those.
I had to go look.
Mike Connor Jr. Yeah, it was like three first names almost. Mike Connor. Well,
I know a dude's named Junior. It's a first name.
Yeah, you can call somebody Junior.
Mm-hmm.
I hear. It's like, yeah. I think he's doing a good job in District 2. Okay. He's definitely held like a micro position on that, but you know, I may not get to show up for the business meeting.
All right. Well, I have not eaten yet today. I'm going to go fix that. Thank you, Carl, for coming on and telling me why I'm stupid. And we'll have to do this again next time, except I'll prepare you for any other topics that we might hit, like coronavirus.
Yeah, I mean, I could look into it, I guess. I just, you know, I mean, the flu's bad, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see you all tomorrow. Oh, fuck, who's tomorrow night? Henchman. Joe Bishop Henchman will be on tomorrow night. That'll kind of complete our set for people running for chair, unless a certain someone else jumps in. And considering that we all hate him, he's probably not going to come on the show. So we'll see you all Tuesday and Friday and Saturday if you're going to be in Iowa. Deuces.